Welcome to the Lovestead.
Hello BookTube, welcome back to Lady Lovestead Reads. My name is Jessica, my pronouns are she, her, and this is my June 2022 reading wrap-up. In the month of June, I read 7 books. I read 4 of them physically and 3 of them were ebooks. I read a total of 1,959 pages. All of the books were fiction, none of them were nonfiction. I read 1 middle grade, 3 young adult, and 3 adult. In terms of genre, I read 2 fantasy, 2 literary fiction, 1 cozy mystery, 1 romance, and 1 horror. There's a little bit of overlap in genre there. I had 2 3-stars, 3 4-stars, 1 5-star, and 1 DNF. Let's get into the books that I read. This Poison Heart by Kaylin Byron. This is a young adult fantasy about Bree. Bree is a young girl who has plant magic. She inherits a farm in the country, and her family moved to this farm because they're originally from New York, and there's all kinds of gentrification going on in their neighborhood. They're finding it hard to get by, and so they figure they might as well give this new house a shot. So it's this house that's built on a nice patch of land in a small town, and when she gets there, Bree learns a lot about her history. Bree is adopted, and so at this farm she finds out that it's her genetic or blood family that owned this place, and so she learns a lot about her history through that, a lot about her magic through that, and strange things start happening in this town once they move there. It's all kinds of cottagecore plant magic going on in this story, which I absolutely loved, and I'll definitely be reading the second one for that. There were some really good characters that I liked. I liked Marie, who is someone that she meets in this new town, and I really liked her moms, and I liked Bree herself. So good characters, really fun atmosphere. The only thing that I didn't like was some of the mythology weaved in, and that's a spoiler, so I'm not going to say more than that. But it was pretty disappointing to me, the mythology that was used, and I talk about it in a vlog of mine, so I'll link you to that vlog here if you want a spoiler-filled review of why I didn't like that. So I will continue this series because I just love those cottagecore vibes, and I gave this book 3 stars. Loveless by Alice Oseman. This is a YA contemporary, and it is about, I always forget this character's name. Georgia. Georgia is the main character, and it's about Georgia essentially graduating from high school, going to university, and figuring out her sexual identity. So she meets up with basically like a peer mentor in this book, and he is the head of their local pride group, the student group. And so she learns a lot about different kinds of sexual orientations. Her best friend is a lesbian, and so she ends up being asexual and aromantic, and it basically chronicles her journey of discovering that identity and all of the messiness in between. This is such a beautiful story. It was so beautiful. I loved this book so much. Alice Oseman is a phenomenal storyteller, and I think one of her strengths as a writer is her character development and the way that the characters interact and engage in relationships with one another. It's so believable. Like, it feels so realistic and true and real that it just grabbed me by the throat, and I loved this book, loved reading every minute of it. My favorite character, if you're wondering, is Rooney. Rooney is her roommate at the university, and she's just something else. And so I did do a vlog talking about this book as well, which I will link you to up here if you would like to watch it. But this is probably one of the best books that I've read all year, and I gave it 5 stars. Next, I read the 15th volume of The Promised Neverland by Caillou Shirai and Pasuku Demizu, and this is a manga series about an orphanage that turns out to be something other than what we think it is, and it really is like a dystopian horror. It's considered YA, and I just love it. If you like dystopian, if you like horror, if you like manga, highly recommend. I gave this particular volume 3 stars. Nope, that's a lie. I gave it 4 stars. Canter with a Killer by Amber Camp. This is a cozy mystery series, and I was given a free version of this, an ARC, through NetGalley in exchange for an honest review. And I did not like this book. I DNF'd it, actually. So this is set up to have like everything that I love in a book. Its main setting is like a horse ranch where the main character rescues horses, which, I mean, you all know I love horses, and it's a cozy mystery. I mean, it had all those things that I really thought I was going to love, but my issue with this book was the writing and the execution of those things. I thought the author just did a whole lot of info dumping, like just so much info dumping that made it so boring. Just telling everything rather than showing everything, you know what I mean? And I felt like she got into the murder part way too quickly, and it was right in chapter 1. And sometimes authors can do this in a book and pull it off really well, but it didn't work in this one because you barely knew anything about the person who gets murdered, so I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not invested in that. So I really didn't enjoy that, and I DNF'd it. The Girl Who Cried Monster by R.L. Stine. I've been doing a little reread of all of the Goosebumps books. This is Goosebumps number 8, I believe. And so this story is about a girl who likes to tell stories about monsters, and they all end up not being real stories, kind of like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, only eventually one of her stories is true. And so then she has to try and convince everybody that, oh my gosh, this person is an actual monster. This was so much fun. So spooky, so scary, so creepy. The imagery was like perfect, like horror, middle grade horror imagery. And there was a twist at the end. There's a jaw-dropping twist at the end. I did not see it coming, and it made me really, really happy, because as I was getting towards the end of the book, I was like, oh, this story's just okay. And then the twist happened, and I was like, never mind, this is excellent. So I gave that one 4 stars out of 5. Bunny by Mona Awad. This is an adult literary fiction. It's, got the dark academia vibes. It's about a woman who is going to college and she's studying writing, and I think she's getting her master's degree or maybe an MFA, and her writing cohort is made up of this other group of women who are like, I don't know how to describe them exactly. They're like super pretty and super stylish and bubbly and like cotton candy rich girl stuff. And they call themselves bunnies. And so they address each other as Bunny. So they'll be like, hi Bunny, I miss you Bunny. Oh my gosh, me too Bunny. And it's like they're just very weird. Very strange people. And she ends up getting involved with this group of women, and things just take a turn. And this is one of those books where the author is not going to spoon feed you the story. Like, you've really got to think about it. You've really got to work through what's going on. And even if you think really hard about it, you're still not going to be completely sure what exactly is happening. The ending is left fairly open-ended, and it's trippy. Trippy is the way that I would describe this book, but I did really enjoy it, and I loved Mona Awad's writing style, so I'm going to read more from this author, and I gave this book 4 stars out of 5. The last book I read in June was The Love Hypothesis by Allie Hazelwood. This is an adult contemporary romance, and you probably know what it is because it is a booktube darling. So many people love this. I do think that it is Reylo fanfic, if I got that name correctly, like 2 Star Wars characters. I am not a Star Wars girly, so I'm not super familiar with that. And honestly, I think you need to be familiar with that to really appreciate this book. I thought the characters were absolutely vapid. Absolutely vapid. Like, their only identities were, I am a college PhD doctoral candidate, and I am a grumpy professor, and I am a woman of color in science. Like, that was the extent of their identities. And the sex scenes were super cringy, like super awkward, not good. I didn't fully understand how these 2 characters fell for each other so very, very quickly. It is a fake dating situation, and it just didn't work for me. And I feel like what I'm missing is that fan fiction backstory, because I feel like for the folks who understand and are familiar with that fanfic, or like the Raylo relationship, like this book does things for them that they really enjoy, and it didn't do that for me. It just, yeah, I gave it 3 stars, but now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of want to lower my rating a little bit, because I'm trying to remember what I did like about it. And I think mostly what I liked about it was the academic setting and the way that the author really described working in academia and higher education as a highly competitive environment where you're expected to be on the clock 24/7 and to produce. And that's America in a nutshell, right? I think every industry is that way a little bit, but academia is a whole nother beast from the corporate world, you know what I mean? And the corporate world has its own issues, absolutely. But I like the way that this book illustrated the ugly sides of academia. And so I think that's why I ended up giving it 3 stars, if I'm remembering correctly. See, I'm already really forgetting a lot of the actual plot points of the book. More so just remembering some of those ideas that were discussed about higher education. So yeah, maybe it is more of a 2.5 or a 2 for me, but officially I gave it a 3 stars. Should I do a quick recap of how I'm doing on my goals based on reading in June? I do have a goal to read from my own bookshelves every month. I actually read quite a few books from my own bookshelves this month. So I read This Poison Heart, Loveless, and Bunny were all books that I have on my physical bookshelf at home. And then books that I own on my Kindle were Canter with a Killer and The Girl Who Cried Monster. So I did really good on getting through some of my owned books this month, which is excellent. And then for my goal of 5-star predictions, I have a video about books that I think were going to be 5 stars that I wanted to read this year. I'll link you to that video here. But I read 2 books from that list. One was This Poison Heart, which ended up being a 3-star, but I still really enjoyed it. And then the second one was Loveless, which was 5 stars. So that is the progress that I made on my goals in the month of June. Did you meet any of your goals in the month of June? Tell me down below what your most favorite and least favorite books from June were. If you just want to let me know that you are here, go ahead and leave me a purple heart emoji. And until next time, make sure that you continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye!